Hello, story lovers, and welcome to another episode of Around the World in 40 Tales. My name is Doreen Vanderstoep, and I'm here with fellow Storytelling Alberta member and the president of Storytelling Alberta Calgary chapter, Judy Patterson. Welcome, Judy.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It is a delight to have you with us today. So before we dive into the whole story thing, I just want to acknowledge that Storytelling Alberta operates on the traditional territories of the Indigenous signatories to Treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. And we also walk in the footsteps of the Métis Nation of Alberta and the Métis settlements. So let me tell you a little bit more about Judy before we dive into her story. So Judy Patterson is the multi-talented winner of Storytelling Alberta's 2020 Emerging Storyteller Scholarship. Since then, she has performed stories of various genres at concerts, tell-arounds, and as a valued member of the Story Share Project. Judy's specialty is telling engaging personal stories about growing up on the prairies. She is also a writer of flash fiction and a not yet published novel. Judy has found that storytelling provides a beautiful link between her writing and speech arts. Last year, as I mentioned, Judy assumed the presidency of the Storytelling Alberta Calgary chapter. So today, Judy will share a story from India called The Elephant and the Dog. Please take it away, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you, Doreen. Yes, the story is called The Elephant and the Dog. Most of us have seen images of elephants walking in a family unit, tail to trunk, trunk to tail, but it isn't always so. There was a king once that had just one elephant, and he lived in the most elegant of stalls, a stable that was lined with marble and the softest of hay. When that elephant was hungry, he was brought the most wonderful foods, fresh rice and cabbages, oranges and apples, bananas. And for every meal at the end, there was a giant-sized, elephant-sized sugar cube. Should he come up with the slightest of itches, his handler, the mahout, would take him down to the river for a roll in the mud and a wash off in the river water. The elephant should have been ever so happy, and he would have been, except for just one problem. He was bored. He lived all alone in his stall, and he rocked back and forth and back, day after day, all on his own. Just outside the royal stables, there was a skinny, scrawny dog that hung around. He was always hungry and always looking for food. His favorite time of day was when the mahout would bring the barrels of food for the elephant. He would go and sit below the window at the stable, and he would smell the wonderful aromas coming across of rice and vegetables and sugar. It was almost enough to make his tummy feel full sometimes. One day, the stable door was left just a little bit open, just wide enough for a skinny, scrawny dog to sneak his way in. The elephant didn't seem to notice when he came in, so he hid in the corner and stayed in the darkness for just a little while to see what would happen. But he noticed right away that the elephant had dropped a lot of crumbs when he was eating. His mouth salivated, and he worked up all of his courage and found his way underneath that great beast to lick up all the crumbs. The elephant still didn't seem to notice, though if we had noticed, we might have seen that the elephant was rocking back and forth with just a little bit more lightness. The very next day, this happened again, and he licked up all the crumbs and went back into the corner. And again, the next day, he licked up the crumbs and retreated. This went on for some time. The dog got healthier and livelier. And one day, the elephant looked down. The dog cowered. Was the elephant going to be angry? No, he was delighted. He wrapped his trunk around the dog in a warm embrace and cuddled him close. They slept together that night that way, and the next day they shared their stories and their food. About this time, the mahout noticed the dog, but did he care? No, he didn't mind that the dog licked up the crumbs. It was fine with him. Things could have probably gone on in this happy way for a long, long time except for a merchant came to town looking for a dog, and the Mahout thought, oh, I could sell him the dog from the stable. It doesn't belong to anyone, and who's going to miss him after all? So he approached the merchant with the dog, and the dog was thrilled to see this healthy looking dog and paid him a fine price and took the dog away on a leash. The Mahout continued to look after the elephant in his normal way. He fed him his great meals and took him for his spa treatments, but the elephant languished. He was listless and lay on the floor of his stable, not even eating his food. Word got out. The king was worried. He called the Mahout to come and tell him what was going on, and the Mahout couldn't. He didn't know why the elephant was languishing. So the king called upon his royal advisor to come and see the elephant. He took his temperature and his pulse, and he checked his ears and his throat, but nothing was wrong. It wasn't until he looked into his eyes that he said, "This elephant is grieving." "Grieving," said the king. And he once again called the Mahout and asked if he had any reason to know why this could be. And that's when the Mahout suddenly remembered the dog. It was the dog, of course, it had to be. The king issued a proclamation. To whoever purchased the dog from the royal stables, please return him immediately. The word spread throughout the country, and it got to the ears of the merchant, who was only too happy to let the dog go. He had done nothing but whimper and whine since the moment he'd come into his possession. The second he was off the leash, the dog ran back to the stables where the elephant was. And was the elephant happy to see him? Absolutely. He wrapped his trunk around him and they cuddled and cuddled. And it wasn't very long until the elephant was eating his food again. Having a friend is the best medicine there is. In fact, it is the best kind of medicine there can be.
Thank you, Judy, for that lovely story about friendship. That was really beautiful. If anyone wants to reach out to Judy or anyone of us at Storytelling Alberta, you can reach us at info@storytellingalberta.com. And please do check out all of our many story offerings that we have to celebrate our 40th anniversary. We have our other around the world stories and also our tribute tales. So Judy, thank you again for gifting your story today. It was just beautiful. And yeah, we will see everyone again next week when we will have another tale to tell.